Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace. This is the Jake Feinberg Show, coming on Power Talk. Thank you for being part of the program today, and what an honor it is to bring back a brash and beautiful cat, amazing keyboardist and songwriter, Spooner Oldham. Welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Well, hello. Good to be here. Good to be anywhere, especially alive and walking around and talking. You know, it's all good.
It is all good, and you're right. There are no guarantees, so I'm happy you're doing well. You know, Spooner, I am a Long Island cat. I was born into a family, very sort of, I wouldn't say elitist family, but it was a liberal family, and and I've kind of always spent my career trying to broaden my horizons and learn more, and I started to interview cats from the South. And you mentioned Delaney Bramlett, and you also mentioned Chris Etheridge. And I interviewed Russell Smith from the Amazing Rhythm Aces a while back, and
he's a good guy. Yeah,
he passed away. Rest in peace. But
I know. Yeah,
brilliant cat. And I wanted you to talk, not just to me, but to the cats out there. You referred to this connection as the Southern Connection. What is the Southern Connection?
Oh, I think when I mentioned the Southern Connection, it was probably a reference to friends I met when I was moved in Los Angeles, lived in California for a while, and I met Freddie Weller, who was a country singer, songwriter from Decatur, Georgia, near Atlanta. And then I also met, Chris Etheridge. I'd already met him, but he was hanging out in Los Angeles with me and others. He was from Meridian, Mississippi originally. So when I got there from Alabama, I don't know, I think it's a attraction you have to people who are from your part of the country that you grew up in. It's just a more natural thing to gravitate to them because you got something to talk about immediately. That's what I meant by Southern Connection.
Well, so I want to just dig a little bit deeper. Like, what can you talk about with them that feels like home? I mean, people in the Northeast, there is people in the Northeast talk about their families or what they're having for dinner. But I really what does it mean? I agree with you. I know that's exactly what you meant. When you saw Chris and there was a Southern Connection, Delaney, the same thing. But is it? I mean, it's not like a distrust of other cats, but I mean, what is it about that, man? I'm just asking because you're not the first. I interviewed Charlie Daniels. I've tried to figure out just a Yankee from the North, and I'm trying to figure out what is that connection, that feeling, and what do you guys bond over?
Well, I don't know. There's so many things you will relate to the people in your part of the country, what you used to eating. I don't know. Do you go fishing? Do you hunt? What your friends do? I don't know. It's a abstract thing, really, to talk about. I don't know, because I never lived in your part of the world. I don't know what you went through either.
True.
And I doubt if I could get you to talk about that too much. But I don't have a lot to say about that, except it's just what you grew up around. You get used to talking about, thinking about it. I don't know what's different. Not really. What I've learned through my travels is everybody's pretty much alike wherever you go.
True. It's like as opposed to I guess what I was sort of getting at is the idea of as it relates to, is it merely social hobbies and sort of things that you do, or is it also is there a Southern philosophy about this country, or is it that fact that you guys decided not to? Again, you were steeped in the South, but part of the connection was that, why wouldn't you just go hang out with a New Yorker? You felt closer to Chris Etheridge merely because geographically you were closer, or did you just also?
No, you're trying to put stuff in my mouth. I didn't say any of that. I don't think of that. I'm not relevant to any of that. I love everyone. They're all parts of the country. No, but I mean, when you go to some place you're not familiar with anyone, you're looking for anything to identify with, or at least I was. So when I met these people, Freddie Weller, Delaney Bramlett, I'm sure there's another one I met. Anyway, first of all, that, hey, they grew up in the state next door to you, so you figure you got something to talk about, and so, they probably played with bands that you knew about. They probably knew someone that you know. It's just human nature. It has nothing to do with parts of the country,
Totally. No, I sometimes, I mean, we just live in. Do you feel like in general, Center Star, where you're at today, is generally the same place that you were raised in, or is it changed a lot?
No, it's pretty much the same. Well, Center Star is where I grew up, went to high school, lived at my mom and dad's house. Mom and dad are dead now, and the house is for sale as we speak for a couple of weeks. But and I live in Rogersville now, which is my wife Karen. Her grandparents lived here. So when she was finishing chiropractor college in Whittier, California, we lived in Los Angeles. So we decided to come here. I said, well, those people out there, they never had a lady chiropractor in that part of the county, and I don't know how you do. But she did well. She had a building built, worked there many years and sold it, and now she works part-time Monday and Thursday with another chiropractor. But Center Star, the question you asked, it's the same. It's the same. People who move and live there never leave. I mean, I left, but some people probably leave to chase their dreams or get a job. But the old timers, they don't leave, and everyone. This small community is probably less than 2,000 people there total.
Right.
And you know about everyone.
I was wondering about if you could just talk about how integral Karen has been to your sustainability in not just music, but in life. I mean, I transcribed most of our first interview, and you guys had a young family out when, or at least when you moved out there. And it's just important, but it's just interesting. Even what you just said, the idea that in that part of the country, at least at that time when you decided to move back, women were not having positions of, they weren't, they had certain roles, right? And, but so, I mean, can you just talk about how she has helped infuse, how you've worked together and sustained your marriage? Because, I was married 13 years and had a couple of kids, and it was a very beautiful existence, but it ended, and that was just a chapter. And my parents have been married for 50 years, and I just wanted you to talk about how she's really helped you, especially because, I mean, music is it's a roller coaster ride.
Amen. Yeah, I'll be happy to talk about mine and Karen's relationship. First of all, as we speak, we've been married 51 years. And she's always, before she, her first job was a veterinarian assistant, and then later she chose to, we had moved to Los Angeles. She got tired of being at home alone and not doing anything, and I was out doing session work and playing music. And she said she applied for a job in the newspaper that said office manager wanted. She thought he was a medical doctor. She went to Dr. Paul Nelson's office in Glendale, California, and applied for the job. And he said, I'm a chiropractor. She said, well, I've never been to a chiropractor. Don't know about them. And he said, what do you know about it? So he said, well, she said, I always thought they were quacks. And so he hired her, I guess to show her. Well, and one day she said, she'd check people in and carry them back to the room where the doctor would see them. And she said one day this 8 or 10-year-old boy came in with her parent, and he was blue in the face, could barely breathe, and she's thinking, why didn't he go to the emergency room? But anyway, she put him back there in the room, and 15 minutes later he came out just a bop, and his face was clear and pink, and it was asthma.
Wow.
And she learned that chiropractors have a great track record with asthma, So, yeah, she was influenced by just being there, without doing anything, except office manager, and that's part of it. But in my role, she always supported me in my music ventures, and even though they were harrowing at times and lovely at times, she was always pretty straight ahead with supporting me. So I appreciated that, I know it's not easy to do that for a mate.
Can you talk about, to me, I'm not trying to sound naive, it's just you've been writing hit songs since basically you were old enough to have a beer. And can you talk about a harrowing experience and how she helped you come through it?
Well, I'll use that word loosely, harrowing experience. I must say, I don't think I've had any that I couldn't deal with, and I wouldn't tell anybody except my wife about those.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
whatever.
fine. No, can you say what are the tenets of a healthy relationship? Obviously you need to do more work in the flower garden.
Yeah, I've been trying. It's raining today. I can't do it.
Oh, it's raining today. Always an excuse. How do you make?
That's not an excuse. Yeah. That's a reality. But I know what you're saying. Yeah. I do make up excuses sometimes. Go ahead.
Though, I want to go back to Freddie Weller. That kind of blew my mind because I see these albums. How did you meet him originally? Where did he factor in? Because I've seen, he's a fascinating artist, man.
He really is. I met him, I believe. I had just moved to an apartment, and Karen and I had moved to an apartment in Burbank, California. And he was in an apartment complex I was, and somehow it seemed like we just met on the sidewalk or something. I don't know, just a chance meeting, and learned that he was in a band called Paul Revere and the Raiders, playing guitar. And I remember going out to one of those theme parks in Los Angeles and watching them play. Well, and then we saw each other again in that complex sidewalk, and we got to talking about our past experiences. I'm from Alabama, and he's from Georgia, and he was saying he would ride around in the bus with the Raiders, and Mark Lindsay, the lead singer, appreciated that Petty would get out his acoustic guitar and play these country songs on the bus, and I think Mark liked what he was hearing, so we'll just go to the studio. I think it was Capitol in Los Angeles studio, and I may be wrong there, maybe it's Columbia, and record something. So they recorded a song Joe South, also from Georgia, had written, called Games People Play, and it became I think a #1 country record on the charts. And then the next thing that happened with Freddie was I was told he was in Europe somewhere playing with the Raiders, and someone said, "Freddie, you got a #1 country record in the United States." He said, "No, I didn't know it. I guess I better quit the band."
That's the magic of it, man. I'm telling you, the Whispers, that great soul band, they were down recording in Los Angeles approximately around the same time, and one day they're like, they had no idea. Someone's like, "Yo, Sly Stone is playing your song on KDIA in the Bay Area." They had no idea. I mean, I think that is. So, what did Weller started a solo career after that?
Right, and that's when I sort of came in the picture with him as a songwriter. We would get together and write a song or attempt to, and most of the time he would record them. And I know one year we had 3 hit #1 country records, together.
Were they done on Columbia or something? Because I think I had those albums, and like they're all awesome. Like even the cover tunes, they're covering band tunes. It's so cool.
Yeah, he was on Columbia Records mostly, I think, all the time, I think, yeah. And so, yeah.
This one thing I wanted, this is another record I just found. It's a little too expensive for me to buy right now, but I'm blown away because I thought it was just a trio record. And apparently you're playing some piano on it. Again, your buddy from Meridian, Chris Etheridge. And then it's called L.A. Getaway with John Barbada and Joel Scott Hill.
Right, yeah, that's just another one of those records that I played on. They asked me to play on, and I wasn't, I didn't go on the road or play gigs with them, but I just did it as a recording session sideman, and I got to know them a little bit. Yeah, they all had various careers, I think, as individuals, and I don't really know much about beyond that record,
Absolutely. No, I mean, did you? Can you point? I mean, David Spinoza hit a clam on Right Place, Wrong Time with Arif Mardin and Dr. John's album. Spinoza went into the studio and his first solo. He's like, "Oh, I hit a clam. Let me do it again." They said, "No, it's perfect," and it became a hit song. And then Dean Parks on Rockin' Pneumonia with Johnny Rivers overbent a string, but he went with it. And even though he hit a clam, that made it it made it a hit record. Can you talk about a Spooner Oldham clam that made it onto not necessarily a hit record, but you were like, we got to do it again, or you listen to it today and you're like, but yet the song is an iconic song.
No, I've been really fortunate and blessed and lucky that way. You're sitting there, the tape's rolling, money's being spent, producers all excitement, nervous, and I'm sitting at the piano, and you maybe played the song once, and then the tape's rolling, and you want to do good, but there's a section of the song coming around, and you think, well, I really think I should try something here. And you sort of think it will work, but not really sure, and you do it anyway. And in my case, it's always worked. My instincts have been pretty good.
Can you point to an example of what you're talking about, like a specific session?
No, I can't, because I do it and forget it quickly. Move on to something else,
How motivated are you to get are you, if the pandemic, the pandemic has been a humbling situation for a lot of people. A lot of people have lost their lives, but I just wonder, from someone like yourself, is there anything that's exciting to you about that you didn't expect? Do you feel like you've done everything in your musical life? Is there anything you're still learning about? Do you want to play live at all? I'm curious about someone like you who's been through it all. There isn't a studio in Los Angeles that you haven't been in. You've literally your songs have been covered by all these incredible acts, and you've done your fair share of touring, and you have Karen. Tell me something that you still want to do at a musical level.
Well, just keep doing what I've been doing, write songs, play keyboards on records, and I doubt at my age, I doubt it would be a stretch for me to want to tour with anyone for any price at this point because, it's great life. But I'm not Willie Nelson. He's a strong man, I'm strong.
No, I know you're strong, dude.
And I could do it. I can do it also. He does it, still does it. But it's not something I'm looking forward to, excited about, that possibility. I can't think any name that could get me out there. But, I haven't wanted to write songs for a year during the pandemic. But last month or so, I've sort of get a couple of lines here and a couple chords there, and I'm starting to get my antennas up on my brain a little bit.
Oh, I'm looking, dude. I want your antennas up, Spooner. This is amazing, dude.
So thank you. That's where hopefully I'm headed again. Although I've got so many songs written that no one's ever heard, it's really not the point, to write another one. And the other thing is playing. I don't know. I like playing on records better than getting on the road myself. I know that's an odd thing for most music people. It's sort of opposite, I think.
No, I mean, back. I mean, when in your gravy years, I mean, you could, if you left the studios and went on the road, they'd find somebody else to play. I mean, unless you were indispensable. But it's like, can you just talk about? And I'm sure you handled it with aplomb and grace, but when you got out to L.A. with that unit that eventually turned into Producer's Workshop, I think it's revelatory to a lot of people that when you would get called in on dates, chances are you get paid for the session as a musician, whether you played keyboards or harmonica or whatever. But how often would you come in and do composing and arranging because the producer had no clue what they wanted or didn't know how to express it to you, but then you actually never got compensated for that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to take credit for that because whatever happened, I dealt with it back then, and I don't want to deal with anything negative right now, which I don't think there was anything negative. I always got paid out there, union scale, which has made me happy, because I got my pension fund kept growing, and I'm using it now.
Oh, so, man, tell me, just before, we're reaching the 30-minute mark, but I wanted to, want to ask you, Spooner, can you describe how satisfying a modern-day record, I mean, I'm with you. You want to record, you want people to hear your songs, record songs, and that would be, how has that process changed, and are you okay with the anonymity of it, the idea of doing stuff and sending stuff electronically as opposed to just creating it with the human beings? Maybe you still do, I don't know, but can you talk about how that process has changed for you over time?
Oh, it hasn't changed for me because I don't change and I won't let it change.
Wow.
The people, there are other people who change, it's gone from digital from analog mostly, that's one change, but that's easier for the engineers, to do digital. You got more tracks, more options, so forth. What has changed really is I don't let it affect me, but through the years, I think more artists, especially in the country and western world, I don't know how it is with the rest of the world, but they will learn to write and start writing with another songwriter and record those songs. So the chance to get a song recorded a lot of times is more difficult because of that fact, So what that means, if you want to go that route, it'd be best to hook up with somebody who's already doing it, Big starting out, it would seem like more difficult, So I don't want to be negative to up and coming
No, but it's
be
a different. Yeah,
songwriters,
no,
you
it's
know,
it's
but-
not. It's just. I mean, I mean, are you still being flown out to be in the room with people, or do you actually do you use email at all? I mean, you don't change, like you said. I'm not even talking about I'm talking about more like,
I use email. I don't record. I must say I've done a couple of things where someone will call me and I'll like them or decide I'll work with them, and they'll send a file to the local studio, and I'll walk in and put keyboards on it. They should mail it back to them, but that's done in 2 or 3 hours, and it starts and over and finished and done. But there's not a lot of that in my world. But I understand a lot of musicians these days do a lot of that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other. Before, one more thing. Can you please tell me a great Jimmy Lee Keltner story?
Well, they're all great, but one, it's sort of like telling on him, but I'll tell it. We were doing a Neil Young concert I think at Red Rocks, and Jim's on the drums. I think he'd got a new set from Drum World and given him a set. Well, and he's telling me about the woods been under the water 100 years, you know.
Sure.
And well, so we're playing back there, and the wind and rain is blowing on his drums. So after the show, he's really just all apart, torn up, because water got on his drums. And I'm thinking to myself, hell, those drums have already been wet a long time, you know, underwater 100
right.
years. It's
Yeah.
probably okay. But I didn't tell him that. But I could see he was worried. And a little later, he admitted that it didn't hurt him and probably couldn't hurt him. But that's has nothing to do with him being a bad guy or a good guy. It's just human nature. But I don't have a lot of bad or good stories about Jim. He's always a great player, you know.
Yeah,
We'd go eat chili together. And,
well, I mean, like when do you remember when you first connected with him?
Not exactly, but I must say, when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't know anyone, no one, zero. So I didn't know how much of my background history anyone knew, recording and songwriting. But Jim and I ended up, I think it's through Warner Brothers. Russ Teileman, Lenny Walker were working in-house producers at Burbank there. So like Ry Cooder, we'd play on his records, and other people. So I got to know him, actually, I believe, in his recording studio
Sure.
many times.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was actually a moment where we met. But we immediately just sort of hit it off as friends.
Maybe a Southern connection, right? Kind of a Southern connection?
No, he's Oklahoma.
Yo, dude,
Not Southern, I don't think.
what was the name of the place you would go get chili at?
Oh, I don't have a clue. It wasn't a regular thing in Los Angeles. It would be like out on a road tour, and
I love it.
you know.
Oh man, that story.
In other words,
yeah.
He liked that kind of food, and I did also. So
He's from Oklahoma. Yeah, it's not a regional thing, but Spooner, 32 minutes in, dude, and we're done, man. All right, and
well, you take care. Yeah.
I'm gonna call call Bennett and let him know I'll be looking for him.
Good deal.
All right, Spooner. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Take care.
Later on.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
He wanted it a half hour. We got a half hour. Spooner Oldham, legend. That's it for the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you later.